maybe 4 episodes for each season about a holodeck going wrong for each
That's
Star
because
Trek
everyone's
series.
always in the holodeck.
Right. So they set it up right for that. I mean, the potential for episodes in the holodeck going spastic are insane. You can make a whole series of Star Trek based off that.
A lot to do.
Star Trek holodeck.
Yeah, just call it holodeck.
You might be thinking, why did this conversation even come up? But it was spawned from, where do you see technology going, or what is the technology that you wanted? And in 1995, we tried to get there with our imagination and the rudimentary computers that we had. Welcome to our 100th episode. Pew, 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 pew. People are shooting off things.
Yeah.
There's cartwheels.
I'm shooting off right now.
Whoa. Whoa. Lots of things happening. Today we're going to be looking at Hackers from 1995. Teenage hackers discover a criminal conspiracy with plans to use a computer virus that will capsize 5 oil tankers. This movie is probably huge for a lot of us in this room. Clearly we'll take on everyone's view of this film. I want to make it very clear, this is our 100th episode, and one of the most fantastic parts of this episode, and we'll get here quickly, and we'll kind of break up the episode a little bit, is one of the cast members, Renoly Santiago, the Phantom Phreak, joins us for an interview. So thank you so much, Renoly. I'm going to say that ahead of time, but we have a recorded interview that we're going to put in here, and we'll get to that soon. And we'll talk about all things hackers. So... yeah, this movie, we're 100 episodes in. Hackers. Yeah, I'm glad we got 100 episodes.
Yeah, we're all a little older, a little wiser.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. You made it not only to 100 episodes, but we got special guests and the games that we play and everything we do. We put a lot of effort into this podcast. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean Paul and Mike.
Got a beer sponsor.
Yeah.
Just to think, 100 episodes ago, it was just Paul and I getting drunk in this basement. And now look at us.
You built an empire.
There's special guests.
Now people are
3 more alcohols.
And now people are online. We're working with people remotely.
We have
who are
celebrity
drinking.
guests.
Celebrity guests. This is awesome. Yeah. So we'll get into this. So the director is Ian Softly. He did movies such as Curve, K-Pax. Yeah. Yeah.
His name is Ian Softly.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Skeleton Key. Okay. We get the writer, Raphael, was it Morrow? I wanted to note that to Lamar because he wrote The Lone Gunman, the whole series.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I can see or feel the influence there.
And Carrie 2, The Rage. Didn't see that coming.
I did not see that coming.
Wait, Lone Gunman, the series like the X-Files spinoff? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be telling people about that, maybe.
Honestly, though, but like knowing it, can't you see some of the comedic sensibilities transferring over?
That's the part I like about it.
Yeah, when I saw that, so yeah, what Mike's referencing is there's a spinoff of the X-Files, which is The Lone Gunman. And apparently this guy wrote it. And it's crazy because when I saw that, I kind of chuckled. I did exactly what Mike said. I was like, wow, that was like a short-lived, or Raphael Moreau.
All right.
So yeah, it was like a short-lived 1-season thing. But I don't know. It was comedic. It was funny. It was witty.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was kind of nerdy. It was everything that's kind of hackers. And now thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I kind of can see it a little bit. A little less techno and more like nerdy.
Yeah.
Swings on the X-Files side more. Yeah. So I like it for that because we're big fans of the X-Files. Bring in little hackers. Boom.
I like that series. I just would never, ever recommend anyone watch it.
If you're a fan of the X-Files, and there's the episode that it's based off of, I love that episode a lot, and I think the spinoff could have had a lot more, could have used some work, but I don't like it. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to get to the cast on this too, and before that, I'm going to introduce us. As always, I am Paul, next to me is Mike.
Hey!
And there's Collin. And Jeremy.
Hey!
Namaste.
And Lamar.
Howdy.
Don't you dare.
And we are Rabbit Troop Sucks. We are a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films. And yes, again, this is our 100th mega episode.
Wow.
Where we'll be joined by cast member through our pre-recorded interview, Renoly Santiago, who plays Phantom, also known as Phantom Phreak. In this movie, we also have Jonny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie. We last saw Angelina Jolie in Rabbit Troop Sucks on Cyborg 2, Collin, Glass Shadow from 1993. We have Jesse Bradford. We have our 5th appearance by Matthew Lillard.
Is this like Saturday Night Live?
5 feet.
Does he get a jacket?
He mentally gets a jacket.
Okay, yeah.
Matthew, join us. We've done 5 of your movies so far.
Mm-hmm. It's a Rabbit Troop Sucked shower curtain.
Yeah. You know what? If I can find his address, I'll send him.
Let's do it. Laurence Mason is back. Lord Nikon. Last time we saw him, last episode, The Crow as Tintin.
Wow, back to back.
Yeah, back to back. Fisher Stevens is the Plague. Knows notably Short Circuit. Short Circuit. And Super Mario the movie, an early edition.
Yeah.
Lorraine Bracco. Wendell Pierce is Agent DeGill. He is very known from The Wire, a very, very different actor in this. Mark Anthony plays Agent Ray. We also get Penn Jillette as Hal, a computer tech guy. Yeah, so 100th episode. Thanks for sticking around. We've all seen this movie before, yes? Like it's really me just asking Collin because I can now pinpoint. I say that because I saw this in the theater with Jeremy. I have watched this even recently with Mike, and I've probably seen this half a dozen times with Lamar. So I know everyone's seen it. Collin, I assume you have seen this movie in some capacity.
Yeah, I think this is one where, like back in when my brother and Stefan were in high school, I'm sure they brought it over and we all watched it together.
Yeah.
Lamar and I have a kind of a bonding moment of this because Lamar and I worked together for numerous years. I've known Lamar for ages and ages. And I remember Lamar and I, one of our first bonding moments was over music. We liked electronic music and different kind of rock music and all overlapping things, but a lot of overlapping bands. And we're like, I have this disc by this band or this band. And the Hacker soundtracks were really bonding moments. I know Lamar and I are a fan of The Prodigy or Prodigy. Orbital especially is going to be my shining moment. Underworld and amongst other bands. So Lamar and I would trade CDs and, talk about these bands, etc. So yeah, that was part of our friendship.
The soundtrack of this movie actually brought us a little closer together. I had no idea who some of these bands were, and going out and getting the soundtrack for this movie and getting some of these bands, and we were able to trade some music, and you expanded my music catalog, and maybe I increased yours as well. But totally. Yeah, we definitely bonded and increased our friendship over EDM music through the 90s, which was all the rage. I mean, man, my goodness.
Load up our computer, put in a disc.
CDs.
That's crazy.
There was
Can you imagine it?
Visual effects that would pop up on my monitor.
Oh, yeah, like Music Match and Winamp. Those programs.
God, Winamp must have played the Hackers soundtrack repeatedly. I broke Winamp with the Hackers soundtrack. Remember you could set like the meters and how it'd look? God.
Oh, yeah. You play with the equalizer and just screw around.
I was living in the future.
That's still a thing, You
It
can
is.
still get Winamp.
I don't want it.
I saw someone using it the other day at work, and it blew my
I don't know what it is with people using the old technology like that. Like,
because it still looks the same. Like, it looks like a big old piece of shit.
I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
I grew up.
Mike, what any background with Hackers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw this movie in the theater as well. With my friend Brian Donner, who I don't think is a listener. Although I think he does live in Colorado now.
Come on, Brian,
I
start
know.
listening.
What the fuck? And we were both like pretty big computer nerds. And like, I'm not going to dox myself or anything, but like we got into some like hacker adjacent shenanigans.
You did some hacking back in the day?
Yeah, like a little bit.
You guys talking about like hacky sacking?
Like
Yeah, we did like some hacky sacking. Yeah.
We went into the back door of Baskin Robbins.
you go take some of it and put in like rice.
Yeah, we put a lot of stuff in
That was
rice,
old,
for
that was
sure.
old school. You put in rice and then you sew it back up.
Absolutely. But like for us, it was like it was that's what we wanted our like teenage lives to be like, kind of. Like this movie resonated with me a lot.
I wish I knew you back then. We would have hung out.
Oh, 100% we would have. Yeah.
You guys have all mentioned that you saw this movie in the theater. I did not. It took me a while for this movie to resonate to me. I think I rented it from Blockbuster, and I saw it with my friend Jeremiah. Hello, Jay. And I believe Rami was there at the time, too. Hello, Rami.
Hey, Rami.
Hey, Rami. Hey, Jay.
we were all hooked, and we were all just ingrained in hacker culture at that time. None of us really were, we're all just kind of just wannabe posers doing little stuff. But
you probably walked in the shop and you were like, wow, what a difference. Video.
This movie showed us the way that we would never be elite, but it was cool to watch.
Collin, Jeremy, any background with this film? Any memories?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a big computer person. I know my way around a computer. I couldn't hack into anything I wouldn't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. But yeah, I remember seeing this in the movie theater with you. And the movie's okay. Like, it's not my favorite film of all time, but it's entertaining. We've reviewed far worse movies, so yeah.
Collin.
Like I said, like, it must have been. I'm watching it with my brother and probably Stefan. And it must have been right around it must have been slightly, in the future, because I remember kind of laughing at the 28.8 connection part.
Or like their briefcase laptops. They're like giant.
We were talking about some of that, how Dade gets a laptop and there's a video on it. And I was like, at the end of that video, it'd be like, please delete video to make room for anything.
Oh my goodness.
That video at all. Well, I don't want to go too deep in the movie and our reviews, and we'll go a little step by step on this. But I wanted to jump in with our interview. It was awesome. So I reached out to Renoly Santiago, who plays, again, the Phantom Phreak, and he agreed to be on. So Mike and I interviewed him. We have a bunch of questions for him. He was so generous to donate his time and just to give us a perspective of this film. So I'm going to jump into it.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. What's going on? Renoly, I want to just open up and thank you so much for taking your time out for meeting with us. Thank you so much.
This is amazing. I just can't express
You're
how
welcome.
excited I am.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
you're welcome.
We're huge fans, as noted, of you, of your films. We've been mainlining all of your features in the last 48 hours.
That's accurate, yeah.
I hope these are pleasant memories that we're going to go down.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are actually. Yes.
Yeah, so we run a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and overlooked films. We don't feel Hackers is overlooked by any means. We actually think it's beloved. It's a cult classic. But I would argue to a point that maybe a newer generation hasn't seen Hackers, and they totally should. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mike, do you want to start with any questions?
No, I thought you had the first one loaded up.
I do. I have.
Okay.
I have. I mean, clearly we will not take up 1,000,000 hours, but yeah, Mike, I have probably pages of questions, and I have them sectionalized.
Okay.
I have Hackers questions. I have personal acting questions. I have social questions. I think maybe the best question we have is, what got you into acting? What started all of this for you?
Well, I just always loved storytelling, I mean, it was just, I look back and I had the normal exposure, to television and movies growing up. But I guess maybe looking back, it really affected me in a way where I really wanted to be a part of it. And it's something, and also the fact that maybe the comedy and being very poetic and always having a sensitive soul, it lent itself as something that felt like I could do it, So it was, but early on, I just loved really great entertainment, like Elvis movies and, the show Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
And Carol Burnett and I Love Lucy. And these were reruns, of course, and also shows like Gilligan's Island. But I think that they formed, I look at the comedy that I do and the acting and the deep acting and stuff, and I think about, how those early things probably influenced, my sense of what that was and introduced me into that world. So that's really what made me want to become an actor, was just great home entertainment. And then, also directors like Steven Spielberg.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And my dream world was also like, I remember watching Conan the Barbarian at the movie theater, and you think about action films, and, as a kid, you don't know what the action film took a moment to really get some respect. But, so during those early years, they were like whatever movies. But, watching that as a kid, it just gave me this whole, reference to like the magical world and battles and good and evil and all that. So yeah, that really got me like wanting to do it.
I think that's one of the main reasons we do this podcast. We go back and look at some of these movies that were so inspirational to us as children, and just like, and you noted like a lot, like there's a lot of conflict of good versus evil. And I honestly feel this, in part, a lot of these movies, like Hackers, they added to my moral code. Just growing up, like, hey, when someone's doing something wrong, you and your friends get together and you shut that down. Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What led you to hack? I mean, I have no idea. As I said, I have a million questions. I mean, some of them might be so naive on my end, just not being an actor in the film industry. But what led you to the role in Hackers? How did the casting call come? Were you auditioning for that role? Something else? I have no idea.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because basically the way I initially was introduced to the film Hackers was that I was auditioning for something else. I was actually auditioning for the role of Robin in the Batman movie. Yeah, for I believe it was the one Batman Returns with that Chris O'Donnell was like the first Robin introduction, right? Yeah. And so at that time, when I first, I guess what got the ball rolling was I just was in general looking for talent representation, at the same time auditioning through newspapers and things. And this is when I was about 18, 17 years old. And then I was able to get representation, which was a great breakthrough for me. And then when the ball got rolling for Batman Returns, initially it was going to be directed by Tim Burton, and there was a casting director named Mally Finn, and she was very influential in Hollywood. She had also cast films like Titanic, and she just was not known for having the eye, let's say. And so she had an open audition for the Robin role. And I'll remember it was at a hotel right across the street from Central Park, one of the really ritzy place. And I went in there, and, oftentimes, because me as Renoly, I'm a very sensitive, open person. I really don't have like let's call it like a layer of attitude or protection there, even though of course you can see from my movies I can pull it out.
Oh, sure.
If I need to. Yeah, but as me, I like to, because I think I can handle what's thrown at me if it's not cool or whatever. So I just like to be nice. And so at first I don't think, she kind of like wanted to see how I was on, my tougher side or my edgier side. And so we did an improvisation, and it really kind of so I think what she said to me was after like, who are you? And and all that. And then I did stay in her mind, because then when the film had its official auditions kind of round, I was already filming Dangerous Minds by that point, and the meeting was in Los Angeles. And she starts talking, I go in there all revved up to do the Robin audition, and she puts the script in my hand out of nowhere, and she's like, and it has all these zeros and ones on the cover of it. And she's like, there's this movie, and then you're like on the phone and, talking to your girlfriend in Venezuela and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, being my age at the time, early 20, like literally probably was just turned 20 at the time, was a little bit, kind of disappointed, because I'm like, what about this, role that I'm actually, here for? But it, I walked out with a script. She gave me that script, and, it was amazing in that regard. I mean, and then she ended up not being the casting director for the film, because sometimes films do switch casting directors, and then the casting director that actually had the film in her hands when the film was all going forward was Diane Crittenden, who also is a very wonderful historical casting director. She did Star Wars.
Oh my God!
Oh wow!
And yeah, and so I went in for her, but I guess I was on their list of actors to bring in, and that's really what locked in me getting the role. I auditioned for her, and then she had me come in for the director. And then I think getting like the flashback, one of the strange things I did in the audition, which was a little bit of me trying to snatch the role, because once it was a film audition role and it wasn't just popped on my lap, I was able to process more like, oh, okay, remember, this is a movie, you know. And so like, it was like, you know, I remember I wore a marijuana t-shirt, which back then it was illegal and stuff, so I knew it was a little risky to throw that out there as an actor for my reputation, but I wore the t-shirt and I put my feet on the director's table after reading the part and crossing my legs just like on the table for the interview. And that was the one thing I remember that I did, you know, that then became, you know, what we see today.
Yeah, I mean
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's awesome that you noted like your personal self clearly is different from the roles that you're playing. I mean, I find it, and that's awesome. I think that's a testament to your acting too, that like you are one person and are portraying someone else. I mean, some of the lines that he had in Hackers, Mike, as we just watched, we were just eating dinner and refreshing ourselves on Hackers, which you telling Joey, were you born with your brains in your ass? Like such a direct line. But then in real life, I mean, you're so sweet, and thanks again for being on with us.
Well, you're welcome. And, you know, I got to say, I don't improvise a lot in movies because I really like to sort of disappear behind someone's complete way of expression. But that line I improvise.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yes.
This is going to lead me to a lot of the questions, but Mike, what do you got?
Oh man, I don't have much prepared. I'm just kind of going into this blind.
Well, one of the ones I had going off what he's saying is, I just felt the success of Hackers. There's so much chemistry between all of you. Just even rewatching it. I mean, if everyone's acting, bravo, because I just feel everyone is having a good time throughout the film. You could just even see rewatching it. There's always a couple subtle smiles from all the actors that I don't think was, really put into the script, but it just seems like everyone has a good time. Do you have any feelings on the chemistry between everyone on the set?
Wow. Well, it's just so awesome to see that is what happened with what we put forth, because, you know, when you say that, I just think to myself, well, you know, I think that mainly happens when there is a safe space in the energy in the air, and we all like collectively came in with that open attitude where we were brave enough to be exposing ourselves and, you know, try and you know, just expressing and doing our best. And that had like a synergy that we all happened to have that approach with this and with acting. And so it was like, we just meshed right away. Now, being part of it, because you're sort of in a space where, at least for me, and I think most actors in general, you don't like to predict what's going on. So like saying things like, oh, this is going to be awesome, or we're doing so good. It's not something you normally would say. It's just like you're in the moment. That's like, even before, you know, now these days we talk about being in the present and all of these things. Like it's before even those phrases were coined, like in the craft of acting, silence is like knowing what not to say, and the behavior in between the acting is also affecting like the energy or the ability to kind of really go into imagination. Like we were all in that knowledge together. Like we knew like to just like do that kind of thing. And that's really like the chemistry that happened. So like we didn't know. I mean, we did, after the first time we did rehearse together, Angelina did say this is going to be good.
That's
and
awesome.
We were all like, yeah. And then we all felt relief because we had all acted together finally. And we did good. We felt like nobody got in each other's way. Everybody was like saying their lines, but that's pretty much like what we were like, just hoping for. And then doing like what we knew the character would be. And we just took ownership over the characters as well.
Knowing we were going to interview you, which is kind of weird. I don't always pay attention to this. But I was paying attention to a lot of your body acting. And so noting that you were kind of in the pocket, in the groove with everyone. There's numerous scenes. I could pinpoint the party scene in Hackers where, you're talking to, Jonny Lee Miller and you're like, oh, I'm glad you came. But immediately you just blend in. You're like waving at people and you could just tell like you're part of that like community. You're part of that party. It didn't seem fake to me. And that's one of the reasons I love Hackers, that I just felt like I was one of those party goers. I was like, oh, like there are some friends I see in the corner, but it's all because of that vibe, which includes the body acting, which was awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it means a lot, because we really are using our imagination. Like there was no music playing when we did that. And it's just like you get some like, okay, here you guys walking in and you got to think like, okay, how am I going to bring in this, feeling and all that. And it's just really cool. Like when you see it all come together and I'm glad you picked that up. It's always nice to see that our efforts are noticed by people that are watching.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy too. Like, and I always wonder if they throw out the song like, hey, for 1 minute, just imagine stereo MCs is playing and you're just going to be dancing. And you're like, all right. Like I could not pull that up. I was like, what?
Yeah. You mentioned that, like that never even occurred to me that you would be in a room that was silent. Like, I don't think I could do that.
It definitely was funny. I mean, if I recall when we do things like that, or when we did it, they just like say stick to like one rhythm, everybody that you're moving to, kind of thing. But yeah, it's cool. It's interesting the way these things come together.
That is cool. No, so I apologize. Paul is much smarter than I am and has a lot of more interesting observational questions. I'm kind of a simpleton. You'd mentioned the script and the marijuana shirt. Did you save anything from filming?
No, I mean, here's the normal rule anyway. Like it's all like the costume and hair part of your day when you're making a movie is such a big part. Like
sure.
all of between the acting is people working around you, making sure that and doing their job, which is like so like the costume people. So it's treated literally like costume stuff that it's like, you don't really get to. First of all, too, they always let like they need the clothes anyway, because if there's an emergency that comes after shooting the film where something got damaged or something, the film or something, they need to reshoot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, so they usually keep everything always in a warehouse or wherever, just for safekeeping. And but we kept the rollerblades.
Heck
like
yeah.
they
awesome.
Yeah, like they give you what you can keep. They most of the time they're also like want to give you things that they don't need and that you can have. So we kept those, and I'm thinking those were the only things that that we were able to keep. So, but I still have mine and they're pretty new. I mean, awesome. It's like I haven't really used them.
Yeah. At one point in the movie, you're wearing a shirt with a cat on it or like a kitten.
Oh, yeah. Meow, meow.
Yeah, meow. My partner always comments every time that shirt pops up. She's like, I really want that shirt. It's a great shirt.
Well, funny enough, Hacker's wardrobe was brought up on the most recent the most recent season of Celebrity All-Star Project Runway. One of the designers was like, Hackers, like that was supposed to be retro futurism, and he did a Hackers design. It was awesome, and it was last season.
That's cool.
He did not win.
So cool.
But yeah, I mean, the fashion was huge. I mean, you still see it today. I mean, I have to assume people come up to you and discuss the fashion of Hackers with you here and there.
Yeah, they do. And it's really great. And the cat shirt, that was a shirt that used to be a novelty store shirt that used to be in several shops in Times Square. And it was
really?
just like I Love New York cup or something.
Nice. Right.
And they would have weird juxtaposition of a cat with lights and New York. And it would be like, I joked one time and said, it was like nobody in their right mind would ever, buy that. And so when the very creative, costume team, or wardrobe department is what we call it, presented that, I loved it. I mean, I was blown away by how they juxtaposed it and made it fashion, like high fashion in a wild way. And so that's how that happened. But that usually was a t-shirt. They don't have them around now. They're so hard to find. I mean, it would be like a miracle. Yes. But yeah, they were all over these shops that were like cheap, like novelty shops. And they just grabbed it and made it into something.
That's all. Yeah. I do love that shirt.
It's a great shirt. Yeah.
Going through one of the scenes of the film, this is my very open and honest version of Hackers. Why I'm enamored with this film. So a little of my background. My dad worked for the government, so we moved around a little bit, and I got a copy of Hackers. I saw Hackers twice in the theater, and then I was living in Missouri, and randomly in like 1990, I think 6, there was like, wasn't like a legal copy, but it was like when they used to rent copies, then would sell them. I found a copy of Hackers at like some no-name store and bought it. And I moved to Denver, Colorado in 1997. And so I watched Hackers a lot. I love the soundtrack. I love the film, as noted. And one of the scenes, and this is, Renoly, this is crazy because I'm talking to you and telling you this, but normally I would be like, I'm going to talk to you as the actor. But your character, the Phantom Phreak, your opening sequence where you meet Jonny Lee Miller, you're like watching him, but when you introduce yourself, so just remember, I'm living alone in 1997 Colorado. I know no one. I'm watching Hackers, and the moment you introduce yourself, you're like, hey, I'm the Phreak. And I know it's like this awkward, funny scene. And I am telling you, 1997 Paul would have paid any amount of money to make a friend and to have someone come up to me. Because the next scene, you're all in the cafe, you're hanging out, and I'm like, I know no one. Like, I'll talk about computers. I'll talk about music. Like, is there anyone in the world? And I'm sure everyone's felt that way. But I promise everyone in this room right now that I feel that's a pull for Hackers, where Dade's, Jonny Lee Miller's character being pulled into New York and not knowing anyone, and you're his first real friend. And I kind of want to talk about this. You are a ride or die friend all throughout this movie. And honestly, it's crazy again that I'm talking to you because I'm like, I just wanted to be your character's friend all of my life. So again, thanks for being on the show. This is like kind of surreal. It's really awesome. And thank you for real.
Oh, well, I love it. And thank you. It's my pleasure. I love when things, come full circle like that in life. It's really something just that's like amazing. And I thank you again. Those were great moments that you put your everything into, and you just do it with sort of, I guess being an artist, you just want to like do something creative. And so it's so nice to see like that it did something, and that it stays with people. That's like the best gift.
Yeah. I mean, all throughout the film, I mean, again, we just watched it and we've watched this movie, many, many times. All throughout the film, you're like, Dade, let me find out about the person you like and let me introduce you. Dade, let me find out where they live and let's go to this party. Dade, let me hook this up. So you have kind of a romantic game, but you're such a good friend all throughout. And I really feel that's the magic of Hackers, that like everyone can kind of relate to someone in the movie. And like everyone's like, it's just based on friendship. How do you feel about that, Mike?
Yeah, I feel good about that. No, I mean, much like Paul, I saw this movie in the theater probably a couple times. I mean, it was a hugely influential movie to me, not just like culturally, but musically. This was the soundtrack was my introduction to a lot of bands that I still like. I mean, that Underworld track is a banger.
With Prodigy mainly throughout, and there's three Hackers albums.
Oh, I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah. One of our co-hosts, Lamar, who unfortunately couldn't be here, that was one of our bonding moments. We listened to Hackers, and I was going to show you that I even have the Hackers, the vinyl release that was on Record Store Day. I'm like, yes. That was going to be another question I had too. Was the music in the films, like the electronic music, was it anything you were listening to at the time or still listen to?
Well, I personally was a New York club kid as well. So I used to listen to a lot of dance music, a lot of electronic dance music. Before it even had the name electronic dance music, it was just club music, you know. Right. A lot of it also derived from house music, which, you know, initially was like the bass and dancing and, you know, danceable beats and things that became electronic. And then it sort of took its own thing, you know, and became its own thing. So it was a part of its, you know, it felt really natural, like, because it was the music of the day as well. And ironically, though, the soundtrack itself wasn't discussed with us because, you know, you take everything step by step. So it's like you're doing the scenes, you're doing the energy, and that a lot of times dictates as well how the music and what the creative musical people decide to make the sound of a film. So, but the director did have a direction that he wanted, and he was so specific about it that, you know, it really benefited the film because he put a lot into the soundtrack and, you know, how he wanted it to feel. But again, since we were taking everything by sequence, it wasn't anything he would ever discuss when we were shooting scenes and things. It was more about that moment and life. But then later, you know, but what evident in him was that he was thinking everything out, that everything was, you know, that he knew what he wanted the outcome to be. So that was also really helpful.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you say that because I feel, I mean, a lot of you are in your early 20s at the time. If I were a director, which I'm clearly not, I would probably go up to my early 20s cast and be like, what is everyone listening to? That should be in our soundtrack. I'm just saying that as me now, because I can't imagine that if I picked a soundtrack, anyone would maybe really enjoy outside of people my age.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that soundtrack is so killer. As Mike noted, there are 3 different, there are 2 extensions to the first part, which is epic.
Amazing. Well, to, you know, give credit, it's Ian Softly, the director, and he is a music enthusiast and fashion also enthusiast. So all of those things, he was the one that pieced the wardrobe department and chose the designers, and also with the music as well, and also with the cinematographer, who was Andrei Sakula, who also did Pulp Fiction. Yes. So if you look at both films, you'll notice that incredible bright and really cool kind of lighting style. So, yeah. So, you know, lots of credit to him for sure.
So there's probably a generation of non-Hackers watchers who should watch Hackers. When you feel they watch the movie for the first time, what do you think their recognition of like this past is going to be? Some of the technology might be dated, but the sentiments are definitely there. How do you feel about that? Like that philosophy versus the technology?
I think so too. I think that the technology aspect in the film represent the time. So it's all really just background in that regard to the era, but the message and just the things at play and the I guess the vision that's there is still, it feels futuristic, which is great.
Yeah, totally.
And
great.
Yeah, so that's a really great thing. It feels like a true cyborg experience, and that will I think be one of the great things that keeps it feeling like something new.
I think I read something where the director said he did not want to do like computer graphics for like those inside scenes. And on my end, that totally pays off. Because I think when I look back at, movies that came out in the 90s, they use computer graphics. now looking back, even if the story's good, people are like, "Woof!" like those are some computer graphics of the time. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
No, I mean, I think the visual direction that it all took was wise. I mean, so I was a pretty nerdy kid, and I work in technology still. I'm sure partially and thanks to this movie. But at the time, my nerdy friends and I were like, this isn't really realistic. But I think that the lack of realism is what makes it stand up. Like, if it was a pitch perfect real computer hacking scene, it would be boring now. So, I mean, the fact that it was a little bit fantastical, I think, makes the movie a little bit more special and timeless, rather than just like a documentary on how to hack a computer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that was a creative direction to take in order for it to have longevity. It needed to have a little bit of comedic farce in there to it, where the fantasticalness was a little bit, made you laugh a little, and also, but it was still kind of serious. So it felt like a dream. I think that there was a dream aspect to it all that came across, and that serves it. And also, it's really not meant to be a how to hack movie. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like,
I the first time I saw this movie, I don't really remember which group of people I was with, but I remember it was like a friend of a friend came to the movie theater. So I don't have like a full memory of who this person is. But I remember after the movie, the person approached me for whatever reason and was like, we could do this. Like, I think we could get together. We could do it. Like, I was like, whoa. Like, I don't know. Like, I have America Online. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're going to find a phone booth.
Like, I actually grew up. Like, my brother used, like, bulletin board systems. I'm actually, like, a little knowledgeable about, like, the old school Commodores and, like, the kind of war games-esque style of, like, bulletin board system, like, phone-to-phone operations. But beyond, like, getting onto them, like, I didn't know, like, coding and stuff like that. And Mike, I agree that, and Renoly, I agree with what both of you were saying. Like, that fantastical comes together and makes it just accessible for the audience member, or it's just going to be dated forever. And Mike, you're right. Like, or we just might see, like, if it was a modern version, it would be a picture of someone just clacking at a computer and like just typing in code and be like, that's not fun. No. And I don't even know what the soundtrack to that would be.
There wouldn't be one.
A flute.
Yeah.
One solo guitar. A sad guitar. Renoly, we also wanted to talk about any of the projects that you're working on now. Anything that you would want to tell any of our listeners? Anything that you're up to? I know you have a website. Anything.
Yeah. Well, I have some really exciting things in development, and we'll see. I mean, you take it step at a time, and at least the good thing is that every day, things are moving forward. So, creating things for film and television, and there have been some, inquiries about my schedule for certain movies to my agents and stuff. So, let's see what the year brings,
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that's going on. And then I also have the website, phantomphreak.com, where people can go on and make requests for autographs and for me to sign memorabilia and things. And that was something really awesome that some people approached me about and said, listen, this is a great way for you to reach the fans as well and give them something that they want to have a piece of. So I immediately said yes, and it's been going really cool. Like, awesome. So I recommend it. Thank you. Yeah, I recommend it for people who want to go on there. And I also have a t-shirt line that I put together, and I love fashion myself, and it's called RenolyNYC.com, where you can just order some cool t-shirt designs and things. And also, I've always been doing my music and keep creating and keep performing whenever I can. And I just did a single with a great house producer named Morsi, and that's going to be released by an independent label, and it's called Senora. And that'll be out soon. So just keeping myself busy with those things.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we will provide links to everything. I mean, listeners, please go to all these links when we do post this. Mike, you had play performance questions.
I did. Yeah, I saw, and I apologize for not knowing this before yesterday when I looked it up. You were in the Paul Simon production of Cape Man.
Yes.
I'm a huge Paul Simon fan. How was that?
That was amazing, and it was a dream come true. I've always wanted to do Broadway. I've been really into live performance as well, and so when that happened, it was just like so cool. And he was really great to work with. He's a really humble guy, extremely wise and knowledgeable about every musical, thing. I mean, he's really, really a true genius, and it was just a pleasure and an honor to work with him. And we got to work together for a few years because he, was developing and finishing things. And so he had me and Mark Anthony to do this piece. And, it really took off in that way. And it was really great.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I tried to find a way to watch it, but aside from some grainy YouTube clips, I couldn't find any video out there. Do you know?
Yeah.
Is there a place that people can watch it?
Well, I think that there may be now. Someone did post some video footage that is a little bit grainy, so that might be the one you were referring to, of the first and second act.
Okay.
Because those, usually, unfortunately, they have union rules where you can't film, Broadway shows and things. So a lot of the stuff that does end up from performances online is kind of grainy and whatever from back when. But there is a version that is extremely, high resolution and stuff at the library, which is where they archive these plays, Broadway shows, at the Lincoln Center Library. So a person would have to make an appointment. It's like very private kind of secretive thing. And then you get the appointment and then you can go and watch a screening of the show that's really cool. Want.
I think that's what happens in the movie Rollerball. It is there. Maybe. I think he has to go make an appointment. It's in the future, and they're like, you could only access this in this private room.
No, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of that. I mean, it's sometimes things are a little bit more special when you have to see them in the moment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
it is. It's really nice. But there is also, and then also on YouTube and I know online, like Alexa and stuff like that, you can actually listen to the Broadway cast album, and that's beautiful.
Cool. Okay.
And that'll take you through the whole story. And I have, I'm also one of the leads, and you can hear my character's performances, and it was just really, really cool.
Yeah, I would like to hear that.
Yeah,
we need to track this down.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I recommend it. Beautiful music, not just because, saying that. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, like I said, huge Paul Simon fan.
We had a couple of final questions that involved you and your hacking abilities. Do you know anything about, I don't want to say about computers, I just mean coding, hacking, anything? I say this as someone who does not. I understand it exists. I just am not the person who knows it.
Yeah, actually, I know nothing either, which is hilarious. And when we did the roles, they gave us 2 weeks of laptop or computer training and stuff, and so all of us were new to it, and I didn't go into computers or hacking or anything like that, I wouldn't know a thing.
Mike, you're gonna have to lead us through it all. So Mike works in IT, so
through the hacking, I'll do what I can.
It's funny. I would have to rely on people that are knowledgeable in that, and thank God. But yeah.
So one of my questions is, if they rebooted this movie, would you feel you would play the same character, or would you play a different character?
I would play the same character.
Mike, growing up, do you feel you're one character? I always ask this of Mike, it's that Vogue question, on a scale of 1 to 27, are you a Brenda or are you a Susie? And that 1970s outdated style of question. So,
yep.
I feel I'm different from growing up. I feel I wouldn't be the same Hackers character, to be honest with you.
Who would you have thought you would have been in the moment?
Honestly, I think I would side with Dade or Phreak. I like their friendship from the get-go. I think they're straight shooters. I like that they bond over computers and electronic music and cool stuff. But honestly, I think in a nicer way, I think rewatching the movie, I have more of an attitude of Byrne. I think she comes off aggressive to begin with, but when you meet her, she's like really sweet, and I think she's a more direct person. And now that I'm older, I think I'm just more direct. I think she's like a very direct person about stuff.
Okay, I could see that.
Who would you be?
It's the same now as it was when the movie first came out. Lord Nikon.
Wow, why?
I don't know. I just thought he was like the cool, mysterious guy when he answers the door in the cape.
Yeah,
but then he's just a big goofball.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I always kind of related to that.
Renoly, that's awesome that you feel that you'd be cast and you would be the same character. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I just, I relate to Phantom Phreak's directness, and there were, some cool things, of course, in common. Even the friend that kind of, is the one that kind of brings people together and all these other things. Yeah, and also that there's that straight talking kind of side as well that I could that's relatable.
Yeah, one of my questions too is so your character is in prison at this point in time, and they send out an alert like everyone go look for everyone who's a hacker, and they start like noting everyone's names and their aliases. Was there ever a version of a script where you had another name outside of Phreak or Phantom Phreak?
No, that was always it.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that, Mike. Everyone else has an alias, but he is the only one that is listed as Phreak and that does not have another name.
Interesting. I wonder why that was. Do we know why that was?
Would you be interested in, if we ever did another movie that you have been in, would you like to talk about it? And if so, what movie and for why?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, of course, sure. I think that they were all great experiences, and it's hard to pick in a way because, but I would probably think about Dangerous Minds first as one of the, just because it's my first film and it was such a culturally impacting film. And it still does as well, just like Hackers does to this day. There are people that are touched, and the soundtrack was also
another movie with a booming soundtrack.
Yeah. So, and then Daylight with Stallone was awesome because it was my real heavy action kind of experience with being in a disaster film with fire and water and the action stuff and a scene with like 4,000 rats, you know what I mean? So it was like really crazy. And Con Air, has all of the other artists that are so amazing and really also left an impact. So I like talking about all of them. And so, yeah, I would be open to it. And you
That's
just pick,
awesome.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
We could do the others down the line as well or whatever. I mean, it's always been a huge honor to be part of them. So,
I do want to note, I did watch your episode of Criminal Intent last night.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
My first thought is, so your character makes a deal to not go to prison, and every episode, I'm actually a Law and Order SVU fan, and every time someone makes a deal, I just think I would have made a deal walking in. Like, I don't even need to sit down. Let's just start making deals. Like, you don't need to convince me. Let's make deals. But yeah, that was fantastic to see you in that role. Yeah, I mean, there's all those movies that you mentioned. I mean, they're so iconic. It's just so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Daylight this morning while I was having breakfast. I genuinely really like that movie. I own it. I don't know if that's a popular one, but
I love Daylight.
Yeah, I do too.
It was definitely, like, at the time when we did it also, it was intended to be, I remember they would talk about his last action film, and he did do, I think, a few others after that, but it just goes to show, I guess, the testament of, like, when people and actors, and the times that they're particularly in, tend to think that, they can't do something anymore because of being a certain age. And then time kind of proves them wrong, which is great. But at the time, it was like he thought that was going to be his very last action film. And then he would either try to just do more straight acting without having to do so much action, so he did put a lot into that film because of that. So, there were a lot of great elements of life and death and survival and all those things. And yeah.
Well, look at him now. What are we on, like the 8th Expendables movie? So he's not stopping.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe the best question I could leave off with this, and maybe I would actually love if you would want to do this with us, but is there any movie that you were like, wow, that's such a weird, obscure movie, we should totally talk about this? Like, not that you were in it, but is there a movie that you're like, that's a weird film that I love, I would love to talk about that film?
Yeah, I need probably a little time to think about it, because there is one, but it doesn't come straight to mind,
Yeah, if you think of one and you ever want to join us for one, that would be awesome. I mean, I do want to highlight, like, you have so much insight to the industry itself. So, like, I mean, the experience you have would just be invaluable, as I noted. I mean, just your eye for this and all the things that you know. I would gladly do any movie. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
It would be. Yeah, definitely.
Renoly, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
And,
a huge pleasure, huge honor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You guys, it was a pleasure, and thank you for having me on.
That was awesome that Renoly let us conduct an interview. Hopefully, as we talked on the side, maybe we'll do another film, Dangerous Minds, Daylight. That would be awesome.
Con Air.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So, yeah.
Definitely do Daylight.
I mean, what an awesome perspective into this film and just like working in the industry itself. I mean,
yeah, a lot of cool insights.
Yeah.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, totally. So thanks again.
Yeah.
Let's go through our perspective of hackers. And I'll speed it up not to make this an insanely long episode. But okay, we have a little bit of a background. We get 13-year-old Dade basically destroyed over 1,500 computers. Stock market crash.
Yeah, we're doing like the Kevin Mitnick story, basically.
Yeah, but it's okay. The family's just fined $46,000, which would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He made the stock market go down 7 points, and they were fined $45,000.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like a total nightmare for your family, but I'm like, you just destroyed lives. Like you destroyed corporations and lives. I would just accept that and walk off. Mm-hmm. Dade is not allowed to use a phone or a touch-tone phone or a computer until his 18th birthday. Flash forward to that 18th birthday, and we are listening to Orbital's Halcyon Plus On Plus On.
Great song.
By absolutely my all-time favorite electronic band. This would be number one choice is Orbital, by far.
Did you know they're playing Coachella?
I did not know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny.
Gross.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I've seen Orbital a couple times. Awesome performers. Again, I mean, there's a lot of top tier electronic bands on this album, but Orbital always has a special place in my heart. Kind of an emotional, more down-tempoed band. I always like that. Always super cool sound clips. Well, that's what Dade's going to be listening to on his ride into New York. His mom is no longer with Dad. She got a job in New York. He's transferring in his senior year of high school. It's unfortunate. He's pissy about this, but it's his birthday and he gets a computer and immediately starts using it. Asking questions. Mom's like, in a few scenes, Mom's like, you plugged it in? The hell did Mom think he was going to do with it? And how did she not know? How did she not know for 3 days?
Hey, here's this computer in your room.
Well, also, if she right. ever picked up the phone, she would hear like.
Well, they showed him like with wires out the window. I think he was connecting to something else.
You gotta get yourself connected.
He was hacking Mom.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Well, their first conversation, she was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm taking down a TV network."
He's a truthful.
Yeah.
He was honest with her.
Yeah.
And he was.
Yeah.
And that's his first go-to. So he gets this computer. Clearly, he's been studying. Dade is apparently pretty much a genius when it comes to computers. I mean, that's what we're being told. That he just picks it up almost instinctively. That he just understands computers, the languages. It's cool. Like I kind of like this idea as the character. So yeah, he's now connected online with his super sweet modem speeds.
28.8.
Yeah. Fuck. So he basically hacks into a TV network. He calls the security guy. He's like, "Hi, I'm Eddie Vedder from accounting, and my BLT went AWOL, and it's going to commit Harry Carey and all this nonsense." And the guy's like, here's my modem number. That's what you need. None of that would work. Like, wouldn't you still need passwords, other thing? Like, cool, you could connect to that modem. Like, maybe, but you would probably need other stuff.
Yeah.
How long do you think it would take to download Hackers on a 28.8 download speed?
It's still downloading.
3 weeks. Yeah.
3 weeks.
And I would argue that this level of social engineering back in 1995 would be enough to get something.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it looked like each one of those workstations had their own modem.
Yeah.
And I would bet money that most of those didn't have passwords on them.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like an individual
It's
computer
debatable.
that wasn't like connected to the world permanently. Like, I don't know.
I just feel like
I think that was pretty common. back
so.
then.
This was probably filmed in '94. I would assume that if you called a corporation, I think you would be able to get on their network for this, but I just don't feel you would be able to access individual computers.
Well, I think he was dialing into a specific computer. When they showed that security guard, it looked like all of those computers had their own individual modems for people to connect to remotely.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It looked like a low level, just playing the Outer Limits at like 3 in the
Yeah, he just
morning.
wanted to
It's
play
like,
Right.
Well, before that, we get some weirdo spouting off.
oh
like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Weird-
some racist shit.
Yeah, a bunch of weird racist awfulness. I looked at these guys. I was like, "What the hell channel is this?"
Yeah. It's the weird late night racist.
Yeah, yeah. Well, turn that off.
Outer Limits.
Yeah, Outer Limits is way better. So he throws that on, and we get a little competition from who we find out is Acid Burn, another hacker. Oh my god! And after a series of exchanges and online quips, she terminates his ass.
Oh.
Yeah. So, mess with the best, down with the rest.
He was out hacked.
He was. Well, the next day, this is when there's a conversation with mom. She's like, "Oh, you've been up like all these nights." I'm like, "What the hell do you think you'd be doing with this computer like not plugged in? Like, this is 1994. Like, you think he's playing like Minesweep until like 4:30?
Right. He's playing like fucking Leisure Suit Larry in there on floppy disks.
Like, good God. Yeah. So it's like he's super tired. He wakes up. He's just chugging Coke out of like a 2-liter bottle. Mom's like, you like girls, right? And he's like, Mom, I'm gonna go take a shower. Then she figures out that he plugged in his computer, and she's like, you gotta apply for colleges, and if anything ever happens again, you're totally screwed. Like, they're watching you, Dade. But she believes in him, so he goes to school, and he is transferring in. As noted, this is in his high school, or in his senior year, so I'm guessing like second semester, or who the hell knows. Like he's already, I don't know, taken a couple months of senior year. I don't know.
I would guess that's what it seems like.
So he's transferring classes, and he's like in some office. So here's my question. Angelina Jolie approaches him at Kate Libby, and she's like, "Oh, you're transferring in. I'll help you." Why is she doing any of this?
Is that like her? Is she on like the school?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Like she's like an ambassador for like, new students.
Well, I mean,
I
like
don't know. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Well, so here's.
I think she was just doing it to get to the prank of sending him up on the roof.
But some showed had to remind her.
Yeah. The prank almost doesn't happen at all. So I'm like,
the cargo shorts guy was like, "Good dude, but the pool."
Yeah, so I'm like, why is she doing this? So I agree with Mike. Like, is this kind of a role at school? Like, I help out people and do this.
I was thinking she was an administrator assistant.
Yeah, well, she's in like honors classes,
right?
And stuff,
But then there's like
but
then there's like no indication of this. And she is like seriously helpful. Like, she's like, here's your classes. Like, I got everything sorted for you. Look, there it is. Boom. And then he is like, I'm going to go in this class. Aren't you coming in with me? And she's like, I'm not in the same class. And he's like, oh, give me time. She walks off. And then, as Mike notes, this dude walks out. He's like, Kate, what about the pool on the roof? And she hesitantly goes, oh yeah, there's a pool on the roof. And walks off. But Dade takes it like, oh, we're going to go make out upstairs. He's like, sure thing. She's like literally is clearly uninterested in any of this. I also want to note there's something the director does that kind of comes in and out, and it's when he first sees Kate, like he looks at her lips, he looks at her eyes, and he flashes back to like old movies, like little clips.
Thank you for bringing this up because it happens a few times and then never again.
Yes.
And it's really weird.
Yeah, and I tried to analyze this specifically on this watch. So yeah, soon there's going to be, it's highlighted. Then he's like, I'm going to go to the pool on the roof. He goes up to the roof, he gets locked out, and it starts raining. He comes back downstairs. Kate is laughing. And she's like, I guess.
It's like a clip of someone strangling Dracula
There was
or
a
something.
shitload of other kids that got trapped up there,
Yeah.
But they were freshmen and no one gives a fuck about that.
But it goes back to this clip. Like, there's this old school clip. It's like hard cut. And it's like, screaming. Yeah, and it's like Dracula being strangled or something. And then I don't think we ever see those clips ever again.
And thank God, because that's stupid as fuck.
I was trying to think.
Here's my kind of theory on it.
Okay.
I think it's like, he couldn't access the internet or whatever. He's like a kind of a genius dork. I kind of assumed that he was a kind of a loner prior to this. It's like now that he's like transferred in, he's transitioning from like the loner lifestyle to meeting some new people and meeting friends. And like as he like socializes a little bit, those like interactions kind of go away.
Yeah, so I mean, my feeling is kind of like one crazy summer where they cut to the drawings because like all this dude does is draw. Like, yeah, he just watches TV because he can't do anything else. If any of that was explained or like it kept happening,
it should have.
But it happens 3 times and then it stops.
Yeah, I agree with Collin and I agree with Mike. It should have happened a few more times and then fizzled out.
I don't agree that it should have kept happening. Sure. I'm glad it stopped.
It shouldn't have happened at all. But if you wanted to explain it, it should have happened at least a couple more times to fizzle out. But now it's just like, now I'm angry. And then now we don't see it anymore.
It's just like something the director tried, and when he watched it, it's like, that doesn't work. Let's ditch it.
Yeah.
But then he didn't ditch it.
Yeah, well, he stopped doing it anyway.
I think kind of maybe what should have happened, instead of just like old TV clips, it could have just been a combination of the media. Like maybe once it was like that choke scene, but then another one could have been just like something more computer oriented. Like she says something and it's more of like a flash of code, or like how he deals with things more electronically. It could have been different. But I agree with Mike that it was kind of a tried idea, and the director was like, let's just maybe move away from this.
Well, thank God for that.
Well, he does now fantasize about her in weird ways. Not like super weird ways, but he's like, I hate her in all of this.
Yeah.
This is a weird, truthful moment for me. So I watched Hackers last year, and I was like, yeah, that was the last time I saw it until more recently. Mike and I watched it. And I remember watching it last year, and I was like, this totally has to be more of a monumental episode, especially Lamar and I have watched this movie so many times together, so have Mike and I, but like Lamar and I also have like listened to the soundtrack a bunch. And like watching it last year is like this kind of weird going back to, I don't know, like in the Never-Ending Story when he goes back to like, what is it, Fantasia?
I can't remember that.
Yeah. But the story of that is the old man like kind of slips Bastian the book, and he's like, oh no, don't take this book. And like the old guy at the bookstore is like, kind of take the book. And I kind of felt like the old guy for a moment, because when I went back to Fantasia and I interacted with everyone from Hackers, I was like, I might be a little old for all of you. Like, I might do some things a little bit differently. It was like my first real time thinking about that. And in addition to this, I mean, and I'm not saying this about Angelina Jolie. I'm saying this about Kate Libby, the character. It is like revisiting an old girlfriend. And I could only say that about this movie. And I'm not saying that like in a weird, creepy, or super sexual way. It has like literally just been like, when I rewatch this movie, it's like, oh, like that was the cool girl I used to hang with, because that's how many times I have seen this movie. Lamar and I at points were able to quote by quote any of the characters from this film. Just from how many times we've seen it. So like going back, as noted with Renoly, I was like, oh my God, it was like seeing a friend I wanted to say hi to, seeing Kate Libby is like, oh my God, it was like the cool girl I dated. It's just like a weird flashback. I don't know if you guys have other movies like this. For me, this is like the only one I feel about that, which some of you are now probably like, you're crazy.
I don't think I have a movie like that, but I get it.
I get feelings about that with movies sometimes not with the character, but just with the movie. And I get that weird feeling with, this is going to sound weird, but bear with me. I've seen Purple Rain a lot as a kid. I have no idea why I did as a kid. I wasn't even the biggest Prince fan. That movie just resonated so weird with me. I don't know what it was, but something connected with me. And over the years, I went back and rewatched it. I'm like, man, I remember this as a kid, and I remember these scenes, and it just feels like somebody I knew. This movie,
yeah, dude, yes, yeah,
not necessarily girlfriend or anything, but just somebody I know, old friend, just somebody, or even an old acquaintance, and just growing up, like, I don't know if
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You said something about outgrowing this movie or something, or just I feel a little old for this movie.
Yeah,
I don't think I outgrew it, but it's just like, this is different.
Yeah, I definitely didn't outgrow it. I'll watch Hackers anytime. But yeah, like seeing it, I was like, I would interact differently. Yeah. And I just have different feelings. I mean, like thinking about this movie when we were younger, like, yeah, like I wanted to hang with Phreak, and it kind of felt like I was dating Kate. That's just kind of the perspective you're given. And you see this movie 100 times, but it wasn't like super weird. It was like, it wasn't like delusional, like these things were happening. I was just like, when I watched it, that's kind of how I felt, because I knew this movie so freaking well, which is a compliment to the movie. But now that I watch it, that I'm much older, I'm like, I'm too old to date this person, nor do I want to. This isn't I'm not the same person. As Lamar noted, like, this is a person I used to know. And that's exactly how I feel like. Now that I watch it, I'm like, it's more like, I remember those people. Like, that's cool. And I'm seeing that flash, but like, I'm not that same person. I think Mike and I have discovered that over so many of the movies we've talked about. Like, we are just totally not the same person when we originally saw the film.
Oh, well, for sure.
Oh, you're right. But like just so many concepts have changed. Like, even watching the film now, it's like, I sense who I was versus who I am. And before I'd be like, I'm just along for the ride. Now I'm more like, critical.
You kids need parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Those kids do need parents.
Someone does, yeah.
They do, yeah.
Why are you hacking everything, man?
Damn it.
Well, this brings me to Dade is, now kind of obsessed that he's going to mentally harass Kate at school. I guess
mentally, sexually, any kind of harassment.
There's a lot of harassment, and so he starts in a computer class. He starts looking her up. What is her schedule, etc. And we see Renoly's character look over and kind of acknowledge, like, oh, what's going on here?
Oh, he's hacking the school. He's kind of elite. He might be elite a little bit.
So he goes out and talks to him after class. He's like, hey, buddy. So you're into computers and stuff? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I'm the Phreak, which is one of my favorites.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the king of 9X. And I like Dade is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sick, bro.
Yeah, tries to walk off. But he's like,
there's also some newbie hacker there too. That's
Joey.
Joey needs a handle.
Jesse Bradford.
If he wants to be elite.
Yeah, and
he's not.
No, he is not.
No, Joey is not.
Jojo.
He's gonna get his comeuppance. But
Ultra Laser, I think he pitched.
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, yeah.
I think.
What would be your handle?
I think some of the trivia's part of the trivia was everything he said. Those were notable hackers. Like, they became like those are like
nice.
Real hackers of real life.
Ultra Laser was a real hacker.
I mean, those are like
The master of
70s.
disaster.
Yeah, like 70s names, but yeah. So. So in the interview with Renoly, I even noted, like, this would be a dream moment for me, because when I was watching this movie, I just moved here, and I always just watch this movie in the background, and for someone to be like, dude, you want to hang out? I would be like, oh my God. And he's like, let's go to this cool cafe, Cyberdelia. Cyberdelia. And he's like, hey, on Friday, Cyberdelia, check it out. And oh my God, mid-90s, this would be my freaking dream.
Oh, yeah.
So this looks like the place that, like, the Foot Clan.
Sure, it does. Yeah.
Hang up.
Highlighting why this would
Turtles.
be right. Spot on, Jeremy.
They have both kind of cigarettes.
Yeah, highlighting why this would be a dream scenario for me. I mean, so you're on your own. Like, you're in New York City. Like, I'm watching this and I'm like 15, 16 years old. I'm like, oh my God, this is the dream. Like, you're on your own and doing whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm rollerblading somewhere and playing Wipeout with some babe.
Clearly,
Matthew Lillard's got mixtapes for some reason.
There's clearly like unlimited funds. So these kids are like ordering coffee, playing giant Wipeouts. Yeah, you're rollerblading inside.
Yeah.
A dream scenario.
Yeah.
Also, like, I kept thinking about this when I watched this movie, which is kind of special to me. I didn't really have friends when I moved to Denver. That's the situation when you move places. You didn't know anyone. So I'm like, oh my God. Like, if I moved and just immediately met this core group of people who were like, I like these games, I like this music, I'm into computers, I'd be like, all right, dope.
Oh, yeah. Instantly hooked up with them.
Yeah, so they're all talking. And one of the first things we get Underworld's Cowgirl playing. Before, when there was hacking online, we with Acid Burn, we had some music by Prodigy, Voodoo People. That's going to make another appearance later in this movie.
I know you're an Orbital guy, but Cowgirl by Underworld is my favorite track.
Oh, very nice.
This is be my like absolute close second, and probably let's talk about Any Given Day. It might be my first. I agree with you, Mike, that this is.
I'm a big Underworld fan in general.
Yeah, this
slaps.
Yeah, this is a total awesome song. This is more of like a dance song, and Underworld is more like, or an Orbital is more of like chill out and just kind of like relax. But yeah, I mean, both songs are great. Yeah, these would be absolutely my rivals in this. This is where we get to meet Matthew Lillard's character of serial killer. He's selling bootlegged tapes and stuff outside. All people who asphyxiated on their own vomit. That's his mix. Joey's talking nonsense about wanting to become a hacker. But before all this, we get to meet Curtis, and so we get Curtis, and
he just looks fucking slick all day, bro.
Angelina Jolie's character, Kate Libby, is playing a giant version of the game Wipeout. I read a trivia. This is like a demo. This isn't like the real one. Lamar and I are huge fans of this game Wipeout, especially
awesome.
Like Wipeout 3.
Oh, God, yeah.
Probably logged hundreds of hours playing that game when we were younger. With a killer soundtrack that also included like Underworld and Orbital and stuff like that. Like, very on par with the brand of this movie. So, Kate Libby is just great at this, and you could see that she's ranking number 1. She's upset that she didn't do as well as she normally does, but hey, she just ranked and beat another score. Dade immediately comes in, talks nonsense, says like, nice score for a girl. I should say like, I love Angelina Jolie's reaction. So Dade creeps up behind her, is like, nice score for a girl. And you could just tell she closes her eyes and kind of shakes her head like, I'm one step away from slapping the ever-loving shit out of you. It is very clear, like, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. And so Dade plays, and Curtis, who's upstairs, like, is this dude bothering you? He's like, I need some room. And then Kate goes upstairs, and they watch him play, and Dade destroys the score.
Wow.
And
He beats it by a little bit.
Yeah, one then says, like, looks like I'm on top.
And she is gone.
And her boyfriend seems really put off about this, which he should be. And Phreak and Joey are like, let's roll. And they do. And they go outside, and Kate Libby and Dade exchange weird looks after she makes out with this weird dude who, as Mike notes, just looks slick all day because that's his job. And they drive off. And then that's kind of it.
On a motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a bad
She gives him the backward glance.
Yeah.
You know?
Blance.
Blance.
The old Blance.
I don't even know what to say about that.
She should put on her helmet.
She tries. I saw that was like the last move. Like, as she's like half a block off, she's slowly one-handing putting on the helmet. It's not practicing safety.
No.
That's not
They're kids. They're young.
That's not the Kate Libby I know.
No, it's not.
Well, the next day at school, so I'm guessing Dade thought about this over the weekend, was a good boy, did his homework, and then reorganized the school's water system. So all the sprinklers go off at school, and Kate Libby looks pissed. I mean, she's like, what's going on here? And he's like, looks like the pool on the roof has a leak. Yeah. It's funny because I looked at Mike and I was like, wow, you know what's funny? The $500,000 of damage you just did.
Yeah, I know.
Now condemned.
Black mold, Dade. Yeah. Black mold.
Big fancy New York school. They'll pay for it.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah, remember those computers that they were talking about that were super expensive? That coaches like, I'm your sub.
They're all broken now.
They'll rust right up on you, Lamar.
And they're gone.
I hope they got a big bag of rice to put all that shit in.
Gil sold them some bad computers.
Well, we're in advanced English class, and we get to meet Cyril yet again. But Dade has made his way in, and in a previous episode, I gave you the entire Ginsberg poem that he said to get in. So you could go back and listen to that one. He recites it, and the teacher's like, nice. And Kate Libby is like, whoa, he's not in this class. And he's like, well, he's on my list. And then serial killer Manuel Goldstein, we'll learn later, is ejected from the class because he thought that was woodshop. But he did read some Ozzy Osbourne. I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I also appreciate that. Emmanuel Goldstein, I don't know if you knew, he's a real hacker, and I believe he's the co-author, if I'm not mistaken, of the 2600 magazine.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's around. Yeah, I'm
That's
glad
awesome.
they use that name for that. That's pretty cool.
That's super cool. We get another cut of Mom being like, you need to apply to college, and that kind of just ends. That's a backdrop. Dade needs to apply to college. We need to find out what his future is.
I tell you right now, with a skill set like his, he does not. He's fine.
Does not need to apply to college?
Correct.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in 1995, like, you're just doing this on the side. Yeah, you're going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
Someone's probably going to be like,
yeah, can you run security for my company?
right, I'm gonna
that you
give
just
you
broke into?
Like, I'm going to give you a 10-hour course just to certify you in this, and now you are done forever. Like, it would be like such a in-name only schooling that you would need. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. But we're back at Cyberdelia. And they're talking about codes and stuff. And this, I think I jumped the gun a little bit. This is where we get serial killer really meeting Dade for the first time. He's sitting at the table eating everyone's fries. They're talking about codes and code books and the most common passwords used: love, secret, sex, don't forget God, because of power-hungry people out there. And Joey's like, yes. Yeah. And he's like, I remember you said last time, the only time I could make a name for myself is if I do a real big hack. So that night, he tries to get a real big hack going, and he hacks this mineral company and downloads a garbage file for whatever reason that's just being accessed, not dumped somewhere. But mind you not. He gets this, and he's interrupted, but they do trace this, and we get to meet Fisher Stevens, who plays the Plague.
Mr. The Plague.
My name is the Plague. And they track him, and the Plague comes up with a little plan on the side that we slowly learn throughout the movie that the Plague, did you know if someone's named the Plague, they're not a good guy? What? He's not like...
Not up to good stuff.
He's not like Nice Plague. Flower Plague.
He's a villain because he's riding a skateboard rather than rollerblades.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As the black trench coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the duster on.
Well, Joey gets cut off 50% in his download, and his mom turns off like, Joey, go to bed, Joey. Come on, Joey.
She's a total mom, too. And Joey's a total
His
Joey.
mom is like a low-rent Janine Melnitz.
Wow. Yes, Joey does go to bed. He goes to bed good time. We also meet Richard Gill here soon. So, kind of simultaneously, what happens is Phreak, serial killer, and Dade go to a dude's apartment. Kind of. I mean, we could talk about this in any order, but I'm going to kind of summarize it. Yeah. So, while they go to this apartment the next day, we meet Lord Nikon. And he is another hacker, and he opens the door. He's like, your mom buy you a pewter for Christmas? While wearing a hood. And he's like, no, sir.
No, sir.
Sir, I am hacker elite.
I'm quite elite, you'll find.
All of his intros are total
Mr. Hacker.
are total like this he just can't socialize proper.
Right.
He cannot.
So let me ask you, are Nikon and Serial like adults? They're not in high school?
Cyril's in the class.
Oh yeah, he's in woodshop, right? But Nikon, he's just like a guy.
I imagine is in his 20s and not.
He's just hanging out with high school kids, like it's totally normal to do.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, if he could be just a couple years older,
that's my guess.
That's
true. I guess,
sophomores.
That's my vibe that I get, Collin. I totally agree that it seems like he might be in his 20s, but like he's 20 and they're 18. Like that would kind of be what I get from this. But he lets him in. I say this because simultaneously there's some things are happening. So they turn on the TV and they see an event that's actually taking place in the next scene, but is simultaneously happening in the world. And they're like, this guy Richard Gill, he's the hacker enemy number one.
He's a real boner.
Yeah, boner. And he's going after hackers. So this is a problem. Well, we find out there's an arrest happening and they flip the channel. They're like, screw this. But, and I'll come back to the scene, what's happening simultaneously is Joey is being arrested. That is what they're watching. So the FBI breaks in while Joey's listening to...
Secret Service.
Oh, Secret Service, that's right. Joey's listening to headphones in the shower, as you do.
Got little baggies on the earpieces.
Yeah, he takes down the shower curtain. He is arrested by the Secret Service.
Special Agent Mark Anthony.
Yes, Agent Ray. Joey is dragged out naked because he doesn't want his computer, nicknamed Lucy, to be taken and dismantled. And that's what they see on the TV, everyone else. But they don't see that it's Joey. But then we see that it is. And Richard Gill is interviewed. He's like, hackers perpetrate and are terrorists. And
penetrate.
Yeah, they should be taken down and all this other stuff. And then cut back to what Dade and the crew is doing. And they are like, they turn off the channel and they're like, we're going to watch this other show. And it's the Razor and Blade show. Everyone loves Razor and Blade.
I love Razor and Blade. They're teaching you how to phreak
too.
Yeah, you got a phone freak.
Yeah.
So,
which is a real thing that apparently happened back then.
Yeah, you were able to record the drops of coins in a phone and then replicate that and then not pay for phone calls, which I think they quickly shut down. And then you're able to do other things to phones. Beyond that, I don't know how to do any of this. Yeah. P.S. I do not know how to do any of this, listeners.
Do not listen to this podcast for hacking.
This is not a guide.
Yes.
Hacking 101.
So we also find out that there is a lot going on with the plague. And the plague basically sets up these hackers. He's like, this is what happened. A garbage file was downloaded. It has my Superman 3 Office Space stealing code where I'm going to nip away at transactions a couple cents at a time. And over the course of time, this is going to be what I do, Superman style. And then they're going to get like $25 million.
Forgot that was the plot of Superman 3.
And Office Space.
Definitely Office Space.
Because Office Space references that.
Right.
So that's what's happening. And he's like, crap, that was in my garbage file. So the gist is going to be this. Most people would not understand that, but hackers could read the code. So if a hacker actually read it, it could implicate him and his co-conspirator, the woman working with him. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, no.
Can I? Margot.
It doesn't matter.
The chick from Sopranos.
There you go.
Yeah, it's Margot. It's Margot.
Oh, wow.
Lorraine Bracco is Margot. Yes. Yeah. So that's the back. I mean, we slowly learned that, but I'm telling you that now.
Yeah.
So basically what the plague does is he goes to this company he is the security officer. He's like, listen, these hackers got in and they uploaded this thing called the Da Vinci Code, and it's going to capsize all these oil tankers. And the CEO's like, just put it on manual. He's like, well, that doesn't really exist. It's all computer stuff and we can't stop it. Now, this woman he's working with, Margot, who is on the inside, she's like, oh my God, like, you're really going to do this? And he's like, this is just buying me time. Like, we're going to take this money, get out of the country. When they find us, if they ever do, it's going to be too late. But this is all a diversion. And in theory, he's not really going to do this. It's just kind of like a smoke and mirrors. This could happen. And it's set that, in theory, these capsizers could do this, but I'm not going to do it. In theory. Yeah. I mean, that's what you're all gathering, right? That he wouldn't. Okay.
He brought in his Secret Service just to sick him on the hackers, pretty much.
Right.
This was his calling to get the Secret Service involved.
Yeah. Richard Gill is in charge of the Secret Service mission on this. He knows jack shit about computers. And even notes this. He's like, I don't want to go into retirement feeling like a moron, like I guarded the president.
He's the perfect person to lead this task force.
I haven't seen, outside a couple episodes of The Wire, how is he in it?
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta assume he plays an infinitely different person.
He seems to be typecast as some kind of tough guy, authority figure. But here he's a Secret Service agent. In The Wire, he's a Baltimore police detective, and he is the exact polar opposite character-wise as he is here. He's not friendly at all. He's very foul-mouthed.
He is one of my favorite characters in The
Wire. If you ever saw The Wire, you would instantly, I would think, based off of this character here, Agent Gill, you would instantly love him in The Wire.
Nice.
Very relaxed, very profane.
Well, Agent Gill is not happy about hacking.
No,
Agent Ray is intrigued as another agent reads like this hacker's crime of curiosity and hacking manifesto. As Agent Ray's like, that seems cool, and this other guy's like, this is commie bullshit. If you've seen Hackers, you know what I'm talking about. I know I'm kind of skipping through a little bit. But basically what happens is everyone kind of gets together, all the hacking crew, and they're kind of like really nervous when they do find out about Joey. They're like, oh my God, like they busted him for this crime. Like, I don't know what's really going on. But I mean, you could easily write this off that he does know when they, in a previous scene, like, oh, I hacked this ATM machine. It's spitting out money. And Dade's like, you did this from your house? Like, this is dumb, dude. Like, they're going to trace you. So they're all probably thinking he did another stupid thing, which he did. Like, he got busted for a thing he shouldn't have been doing, but accidentally stumbled upon this conspiracy randomly from the security officer's garbage file of a mineral company.
Right. But sadly, he didn't really know what he stumbled on.
Right.
He knew he found something that, the plague assumed that because it was a hacker, they knew what they were looking for. But it was just some bumbling kid.
This is Joey!
But Joey hides the disc with all this shit. It is like his porn vent.
Yeah.
And so the Secret Service let him go.
Is porn vent a band or an EP title?
Yes.
I need to replace my porn vent.
They let him go so that they can lead him. Are you writing it down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that he'll lead them to the disc because that's what they want. They want the disc.
They want that D.
Gotta have the D.
Like, they just know that he downloaded it and put it on a disc.
Well, when they dismantle everything, they know he downloaded it. And I have to assume because it's 1994-5 technology. Yeah, I was like, there's got to be, like, there's not going to be burned to a CD. I mean, this kid clearly isn't, like, zip discs are, like, $100 a crack. Yeah, so, I mean, I agree with you, Collin, but, like, I would have to assume they were like, he's downloaded it to the one thing that exists. And now that we've dismantled his computer and it's not there, bummer.
I would have asked Penn Jillette if he could have used his magic to get the disc.
Huzzah! I will produce such discs.
You don't know where it is, but it's in your ear. Look at that.
You'll have to cross the Shark Tank, but by the end of it.
Were they aware that it was a disc? I mean, the next scene is them doing surveillance as Joey's meeting up with Phreak. Am I correct? And he's handing off the disc, and it's not the FBI, it's the Secret Service.
Right,
and they are analyzing that there is a disc exchange.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe at this time they're finding out that there's intelligence being traded, and now they're going after the Phantom Phreak.
Not fully yet. We have a party that we're going to go to before all this. So before all of that disc exchange, so Joey's not part of this, but Kate Libby is throwing a party, and Phreak invites Dade. And everything's going cool. We find out Lord Nikon has clearly a photographic memory. That's why he's Lord Nikon. He's reading the party. It's kind of a fun vibe. We get the music, stereo MCs, connected. Joey's currently in AA. Then we get a little flash of that. He's highlighting he doesn't have an addiction problem as he's chain smoking, drinking coffee, and freaking out and shaking. So they go to Kate Libby's room and they start checking out her computer, and Dade's like, oh, that's cool. Like, I like computers. And she starts making out with Curtis on the bed, which is super awkward. Mm-hmm. They're all watching this while simultaneously playing with her computer. And Lord Nikon highlights like, oh, Burns wetware matches her hardware as Curtis is derobing her. And then Dade puts it all together. Burn. And just yells at burn. And she's like half a top on. She's like, oh my God. And then
you notice the 5 other people in the room.
Sure. She was making out in the corner of your own room. It's my favorite. You couldn't go to her mom's room. So she jumps up and Curtis is really put off. He's like, you're not going to get into this computer shit. And she's like, doesn't want to say anything. He's like, whatever. And that relationship's over.
Yeah, we never see him again.
As he leaves, he gives a nice little shot. He's like, ooh, Leopard Boy and the Decepticons. I was like, you said those words.
Yeah, you can't take it back.
Get out, Curtis. Take a hike, bro.
But they were all in the butter zone. So
we also get You're in the Butter Zone by Lord Nikon.
Yeah.
But Kate is really put off that Dade is in the room, and he figures out, you booted me from the sites, and I'm Crash Override, and Serial Killer is thrilled. Crash and burn, oh my God. And yeah, so she's really pissed off, and they look at computers, and that fizzles out. Then we get some more Prodigy going on. Lots of oh, no, I'm jumping the gun. Dade goes back to the room, and then they have kind of a sincere talk with a picture behind me in real life. That's really happening. There is a picture of the scene.
So they had to talk about the RISC chips and the
RISC technology is going to change everything.
It's not just the chip; it's got a PCI bus.
Oh my god, they're flirting together a little bit, but then he gets all uppity and challenges her, and she's like, "Fine, I can out hack you. If I win, you're going to be my hacking slave, and if I lose, begrudgingly she agrees. I'll go on a date. I don't agree to this, but I don't lose, and I'll do it." Now we get a cut to Prodigy, One Love. And it's the rules of the game. We hear the Phantom Phreak narrate that to make this game fair, they're going to go after cyber hacker hunter number 1, Richard Gill, and they're going to pull a bunch of pranks on him. These pranks include hacking with his bank account, putting in personal ads.
They ruin his life.
Yeah, eventually killing him. DUIs, lots of stuff.
Not actually killing him.
Yeah, but yeah.
Marking him as deceased.
There you go.
Yeah, his life's kind of over. So then after the end of this contest, they all kind of agree that they're at a tie. So they up the stakes. So now the game is, if Dade wins, his request is, during that date, she's got to wear a dress. She says, well, you do too. Highlighting, I'm going to go on that date with you, and I like you. Let's keep going. And I kind of love this moment. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff not said, where it's just kind of like, I'm into you too, but like, let's keep this game going. Like a whole emotional shift. Like, do you guys not feel the same?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I knew they were kind of into each other before, and this scene just kind of escalated. It's all right, we're here now. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah, love it. Well, Joey's ungrounded. So this is where we're going to see him at the park. This is the disc exchange. Also, I want to note there's a couple cutscenes where Kate and Dade have dreams back and forth of one another. They're getting now sexually amped up when they're not seeing one another, and they're kind of more excited. Dade also gets a visit from the Plague and the Secret Service. The Plague busts up his room and is like, "You got to start working for us, bro. You got a background, and us hackers need to stick together." And Dade's
I'm going to bust your stereo, Matt.
Yeah, he's like, "I don't play well with others." And there's a whole kerfluffle of things. Mm-hmm. But Dade essentially says, "I'm not going to work with you, and I don't really know these people, so piss off." And now Joey's ungrounded, and the first thing he does is meets Phreak in Central Park, and was like, or I think Central Park, and he's like, "Hey man, here's this disc. I'm going to give it to you in the open. It's daylight."
Big fucking
This is
moron.
my favorite scene of the entire movie, when they're in the park doing this handoff, and the people on the bench are like photographing them over their shoulder, like feet away.
Why didn't you go to the cyber cafe that you're at? Why wouldn't you go anywhere? You were like, here in broad daylight. Like so these people are looking for this disc. The first thing I'm going to do is just hand it to you.
Or do it at the school that you both
Anywhere.
go
to.
Put it in a folder.
Because it's Joey.
Joey.
Yeah. Joey.
Joey's going to
Even
do
Joey's
Joey
mom would be
things.
like, "Joey, don't do it in front of the Secret Service."
Damn it.
So Phreak is screwed, and he knows this immediately. So he goes home and he trashes like all of his hacking stuff,
Hides the disc.
and calls Acid or Kate or Acid Burn at this point in time. And he's like, I put it in that place. Oh, well, he's about to get arrested. Sorry. He
has been arrested.
He did do this. So the arrest is this. He has a dream that he's arrested, and he's like, "Oh my God." And then he actually is arrested, and he's like, "Deja vu."
There's a lot of dream sequences in this movie.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. They goes from character to character.
So when he gets to jail, he makes a call to Acid, and he's like, "I put that disc where he says, I put it in a place where I put that thing one time, and it's in the boys' locker room at school." And Kate goes and gets it, and
it's behind the condom dispenser.
Yeah,
and also buys a condom.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting scene, like for the '90s, because all the dudes just kind of, they don't say shit.
No.
They see her buy it, and like one dude kind of shrugs, like, "Hell yeah." It's a kind of very like pro safe sex scene. No one says anything. I thought it's kind of effective. Like none of those dudes are like dicks or anything. They're just like, "Oh, that girl's buying a condom."
She didn't have to buy that condom. She just could have taken the disc and left.
Yeah. She could have.
She wanted those dudes to know that she fucks,
preparing
but not with any of them.
Safe disc.
Damn.
Yeah.
She's got it. She also goes immediately to Dade's house with cereal. And This is a really weird scene. Dade's mom opens the door and immediately just goes,
"Oh, good, you're here."
I see what all the fuss is about. I was like, yikes.
I think that was meant to be like, oh, you're super hot. I can see why my son's being a bozo about this.
She seems to hate the whole situation.
I mean, she definitely hates the situation, but that's how I interpret it.
I agree, but it's also kind of like judgment. It's not like, hi, I'm Dade's mom. It's just like that is the opening comment. I'm like, oh my God.
Like, oh, good, this slut now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Dade is in his room, and Kate and Cyril come in, and Kate's like, please make a copy of this disc. Well, she's like, help us. He's like, no. And he doesn't explain why, but he agrees to make a copy of the disc, and Cyril's eating all the food. And she, like, on the side warms up. I do like the scene. She's like, listen, dude, like, all fun and games aside, like, I literally need your help. Like, I like you. I need your help. You're really good at this. And I don't know why. He says to everyone else, just say your backstory right now, dude.
Well, he does allude that he can't touch. He has a background. He can't touch it. Everybody touches it.
If I were hot for this woman, I would probably just be like, I was zero cool. You probably heard of me. Like, I would probably open up at this point.
Dude, it's his anti-social behavior is holding him back at this point.
If I'm the most famous hacker on the planet and I'm trying to bang another hot hacker, I am dropping this immediately. I would have led
like
with
right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Mike takes out a poster.
She should have known that something was up when every single hacker in this movie introduces themselves as though everyone else should know them, and he doesn't right away.
Right. I would have made a fucking t-shirt.
Yes.
Well,
I am zero cool.
he agrees to make a copy, and fun enough, immediately we get a drop in from the Plague. The Plague almost like seems super aware of all of this. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, I sent you a laptop earlier, load that up. And he got this laptop before. He's like, hey, I'm going to make your mom a criminal, and she's going to go to prison forever and basically be tortured, and it's going to be awful unless you give me this disc. And Dade's like, okay. Sure. So he goes outside, and of course, in Plague-like fashion, he comes
Why?
out of a limo on a skateboard.
This is because this is the coolest way to get anywhere.
This is 95 style, baby.
Is that how couriers picked up their deliveries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hanging off the side of a limousine.
Well, the Plague has the disc and goes home and analyzes it and realizes that he's got 50% of this. And in theory, this could be a problem. And Margot's like, oh, but I thought, no one could read this. He's like, well, hackers can, and they could maybe piece this together. Everyone else is going to think this is garbage.
If they're elite, they can.
Yeah. Well, you got to be elite. I said so from the beginning.
With 2 3s, obviously.
So they being Nikon, Kate, and Cyril are hacking away at their copy of the code, and they kind of figure out a little bit of what's going on, but they're really reaching a lot of dead ends. Dade steps in and it tries to tell him his backstory, and they shut him up. They're like, we got to figure this out. So Dade basically overall takes over. They are tagging in during this time, but Dade figures out what the code is. He highlights it's this worm. It's taking this money. This is a problem. I got it from this mineral securities dude. By the way, I also gave him my copy, and everyone's like, this is universally stupid. But he's like, dude, I was zero cool. And then everyone is impressed outside of Kate. She's like, that's great, dude, but like, we're all going to go to prison right now. I actually really like Acid Burn throughout. She's like the voice of reason. Like, I want to hack, but like, shut up, we're going to prison. Or she says other things to like calm Cyril down throughout, like, dude, get it together.
Well, that's because she's a rich kid. She's the only one of these people with anything to lose.
That's fair.
That and this group is kind of mismatched, chaotic. Yeah. They need some kind of order, and Kate seems to be that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cyril's a flake. Phreak's a freak. Nikon is, I have no idea what the hell Nikon's up to. But they're all disorganized, kind of.
Well, they all develop a plan really quickly that they need passwords. They're going to hack the Gibson. What they thought was impossible, what they told Joey was impossible, and what Joey tried to do, the sweet computer, the legendary Gibson, named after William Gibson, i.e. Neuromancer. I would probably note in all of this, amongst other things, that this legendary computer, they're going to try to hack in. It's the only way to shut it down. They have to break in, get this garbage file intact. They're going to give it to the public, and then they're going to be, off on these charges, and they're going to realize it was the Plague masterminding all of this. So what they do is they kind of split up. Nikon gets a bunch of passwords by going in, pretending he's a courier.
Luckily, everyone is signing into their computers all at the same time.
Kate and Dade go through trash, like literal trash. She has to shoot a flare gun, her subway defense system, at a security officer. They run away. I don't know what Cyril's doing at this point in time. Doing Cyril things.
Making more mixtapes, rubbing his nips somewhere.
He's plugging in the phone.
That's right.
The couplers,
that's a good call, Lamar. Yeah, Cyril is hacking into the phone lines.
It's a funny scene because he's coming up. He's right between her legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to spy on all the phone calls going in and out and stuff. Then they piece everything together that, oh my God, that this security's crew is already foreshadowing that this Da Vinci thing is going to take place. It's going to go off. It's going to be problematic. All these hackers are going to be blamed, and they have hours to figure it out. So their master plan is Kate takes Dade, and they have to go talk to Razor and Blade.
What? Those guys are flakes.
We get Urban Dance Squad playing Good Grief.
Fucking urban. Jeez.
Low rent Dutch Rage Against the Machine. You mean?
I do. Yes. I do mean that. And then they convince Razor and Blade to get the hackers of the world to unite. They're going to send out a mass message where not just this core group in New York is going to hack into this company, but hackers everywhere in the world are going to assist because hackers are being thrown under the bus and they just ain't taking the shit anymore. So what we get is pagers blowing up. Prodigy again going off, and all the hackers going to Central Station to make one last attempt at a grand hack to take down the Gibson, which I'm going to narrate. They successfully do. I skipped it.
They do take down the Gibson, yeah.
This is a crazy scene. All the hackers are logging in. They're in this the phone terminals, the pay phones. And then the hackers eventually call in. Razor and Blade are there. We get the secondary member of the Eurythmics in London. He's like, I'm dialing in. Him and Annie Lennox, apparently, of the Eurythmics are dialing in as hackers. People are calling in from Tokyo. They take everything down. Penn Jillette's freaking out. He's got to give, flu shots and cookies.
Because there's rabbits. Type cookie, you dumbass.
Yeah, if you don't know any about the old school hacking and the viruses,
cookie.
You just got to type cookie. And everything's be okay. But they get to the kernel. But Joey's getting stupid with it. And Joey actually gets the code from the garbage file. Dade found it. He was shut down. Joey gets it. And then all the hackers destroy the computer. Joey backs up the garbage file. They luckily kind of throw it in a trash can. Serial is able to get it as Dade gives out some very coded advice.
You're trashing our rights.
They're trashing our rights,
Trashing.
Man. Meaning it's in the trash. Wink, wink. Serial quickly gets it, gets the disc, and he goes off. And everyone else is arrested. They go somewhere. Dade's mom comes down and defends him like, my son's a genius, and if he did any of this, it's to help humanity. I'm like, all right, Mom.
Yeah, sure.
Dade tries to help Kate. Oh, this is my girlfriend. She doesn't know shit about computers. Richard Gill doesn't buy any of it. But luckily, with the help of Razor and Blade and others, Serial is able to mass world show everything that the plague did. He gets on all these TV sets. He hacks like the video screens in New York and the downtown city. And he's like, hey, my friends were arrested, but it's really this guy, the plague. His name is Eugene. Here are the codes. Here's the money he stole. Here's all the information. He is trying to blame it on hackers, and this guy is trying to get away. And then everyone is just immediately set free. Mm-hmm. The hackers are free.
Yeah.
Finally.
Little scamps. The hackers are free. They go on, and we get a quick scene where Eugene Belford is now with Mr. Babbage on a plane.
He's like cosplaying as Albert Einstein for some reason.
Or Mark Twain.
or Mark Twain.
Yeah. They arrest him. I don't know why he did this. They arrest him mid-flight to Tokyo. That seems like a pain in the ass.
Well, they were watching like a movie.
Yeah.
They wanted to get the meal in before they arrested him.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to jail. Margot's already in jail. The hackers are free. Everything's great. And you know what? Dade turned out to be the winner of the contest. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the movie, it is Dade and Angelina Jolie on a date. And they go to a pool rooftop. And she's like, I can't believe, they thought you won. Dade's like, it's the only way I was going to get it. Yeah, it's the only way that I was going to get a date. Which are, I like good friends. Hell yeah, man. And I like the scene. They kind of exchange pleasantries, And he's like, you're pretty elite. And she's like, you just should have said so from the beginning. They make out. You see the buildings in the background. He set all the buildings and the windows and the lights to display crash and burn repeatedly. She laughs. They make out some more. They swim in a pool and hold hands. And credits roll. We get, who do we get? We get,
the only song from this movie that sucks.
Heaven Knows by Squeeze. I don't mind the song at the very end just because of the scene, but this would not be like the song I'd play on the radio. This would not be the song I'd load up on the disc. For the movie itself, I'm overall fine with the song. It's a little more touchy-feely romantic, less electronic, I should say.
I do like the Squeeze, just not this song.
Just not the Squeeze like that.
No.
I really like the scene, and a scene I skipped over a little bit is when they first agree, which is another picture behind me. Serial, Phreak, and Nikon are in the background, and Angelina Jolie and Dade, Jonny Lee Miller, are shaking hands. They're in agreement. My two favorite scenes with specifically Angelina Jolie are the end and that shaking the hand scene. Angelina Jolie and Jonny Lee Miller were married shortly after this film. They were dating
for
in this
4
film.
years.
They're dating in this film, and you could absolutely tell that she loves this dude. Mm-hmm. When she is shaking his hand, you could tell that she is just beaming at this dude. I told my wife when we were watching it like a month ago, Mike, I was like, that for me is the most attractive like image of her. Like you could just tell like she's huge smile. Like I totally dig this guy. And at the end you could kind of feel it in the pool too. For like it's not just acting. Like there's totally a vibe. There's total chemistry. You feel it throughout the film. So that totally works for me.
Technically, that's what they want actors to give you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I felt she was definitely doing it. I thought that was great. Well, before we give you our final overview on Hackers, first and foremost, not just us, thanks for always reaching out. Thanks for writing us. Thanks for contacting us. Please get a hold of us anytime. We are Rabbit Troop Sucks podcast at gmail.com. If you have any movies you'd like us to review, you have comments on them, let us know. Or go to our website proper, rabbittroopsucks.com. See some pictures, links to merchandise, see some pictures of people who have been on the show. We also have a handful of the newer episodes, but we're on everything that plays podcasts. Please consider giving us 5 out of 5 reviews or stars or whatever. Other notes, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook. I also want to give an extra thank you to Renoly Santiago. Thank you so much. Renoly has a website as well, phantomphreak.com, and that's phantom with a PH and a freak with a PH. So phantomphreak.com. And Renoly NYC is his clothing line. Check these things out. Awesome artwork. Just an awesome person to talk to. Thanks so much. So, coming back, what do all of you think? 100th episode, Hackers. What does everyone think about Hackers? I'm going to start with Lamar. What do you think about Hackers?
100 episodes, first of all. Congratulations. All in order for everybody.
We did it.
Hackers, you mentioned, I think, twice, maybe 3 times about the pictures behind you. For the people listening, there are pictures of hacker scenes in the studio here behind Paul, and they're great scenes. That just shows you how much this movie means to the podcast. Paul and I, and I'm guessing Jeremy and Collin and Mike, we've watched this movie a number of times, and we can quote it. We know the characters. Yeah, I think we all kind of enjoy this movie. I think when we're going around, I don't know if someone's going to say something different, but I hope not. It's a very, this movie there's a hacker culture in the mid-90s that I kind of wanted to tap into so much that I just love this movie so much, and I think it really expresses exactly what was going on at that time. There were hackers, and there's a lot of people who see hackers as something that they're quite not. I think they see black hat hackers, and they're really white hat hackers.
Crimes of curiosity.
Exactly. There's a great quote from the Hackers Manifesto in this movie that I think really influences some of the movie too. and the soundtrack I'll gush about all day. I love every artist in this soundtrack except that last song, Mike. You mentioned it.
I still found that song in the movie, but not as my go-to song to listen to.
Most of the EDM bands that I were introduced to this movie, and I mentioned them earlier. Orbital, there's the Prodigy. I believe I didn't mention the Chemical Brothers. And I don't know if Future Sound of London is on this.
That was a huge influence from you to me. That I remember borrowing those CDs and then investing into the Future Sound of London myself.
If they weren't, then it was Orbital and Prodigy that, doing research on them, brought me over to these other bands. Just love the music of this movie. Love the movie. Love the actors. Thank you, Renoly, for that interview.
Yeah.
This movie's great. Fantastic. I'll pass it along.
Jeremy, you're up.
Yeah, so I like this movie. I don't think I like it as much as like you guys do, but I do like this movie. It's not my favorite movie of all time. I was never like that much into computers. I was into like computer gaming and whatnot, but not like the intrinsic things that go on behind the scenes of computers, like coding and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, thank you to Renoly. That's amazing that he did that interview with you guys. That's your first interview, our first interview. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. There was just a couple things that I didn't like about it. Some of that like stop motion shaky camera stuff that happens throughout was kind of off-putting to me. The soundtrack was great. But yeah, I was excited to review this and watch it again because it's been a while since I've seen it. So yeah, I'm glad we got to sit around and chat about it. And it was a good movie. I think everybody probably, I don't think there's a whole lot of negativity towards this movie from this group of people.
Collin, you're up.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, I think it's something that I've seen this movie a handful of times. I've always really, really liked it. It's one that if you have not already seen it, you kind of have to go in understanding that this is the 90s. So
yeah,
that's where the technology is at. So none of it's going to be that impressive, but it's still a super, super fun. It's not like nothing is super crazy in it. It's just a good time.
Mike, what are you thinking?
Yeah, same. I mean, this movie was huge for me when it came out. I love it still. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's of its time, but I mean, it's so kind of, I don't know. It doesn't really take itself super seriously, so that I think it makes it age a little bit better.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's just, this movie was great. The soundtrack is great. I mean, it kind of introduced me to a lot of actors that I, still to this day like. Like, this was definitely my first Angelina Jolie movie. This was my first Jonny Lee Miller movie.
And I love Jonny Lee Miller in Elementary. I love him in that.
I've never seen that, but I hear good things.
It's great.
Is that Lucy Liu is Watson, right?
Yeah, and I love her too.
Yeah. Yeah, no complaints. I love this. I love this movie. As said by everyone else, thank you, Renoly, for taking the time to talk to us. It was a lot of fun, and just super super cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly have gushed over this film the entire time. As I said, if this is my Fantasia and I go back into it, I am a grateful participant to be in there, and maybe a changed observer in how I interact in this Fantasia. But I will always go back to this.
Is that like a dip trip flip Fantasia?
It's always that Fantasia. But yeah, I as I said last year, I felt that for a moment, but this viewing I did not. It's just nice to be back, and it's nice to see it. I love the soundtrack, etc. My last question to everyone quickly. Mike said he would be Nikon. I said I feel I'm more acid burn. Watching this movie now, really quickly, who would you each be today if you were one of these characters? Lamar, Jeremy, and Collin. Just quickly, who would you be?
I'd be Joey. Man. I was the poser.
I would be Joey because I have no fucking idea what I'm doing.
Dude, I always, when I was a kid, the first couple times I watched this, I really was into serial killer's energy.
Nice.
But now I'd probably be more of a Nikon.
Nice.
Laid back.
All right, a couple Joeys, a couple Nikons, and a Burn. What could go wrong?
Who are you, Paul?
I side with Burn. I feel I'd be much more acid burn today than I would be before.
So we have no crazy cereals here?
That was just Collin, serial killer.
Okay.
I just want the cloak, is all.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, again, as everyone said, Renoly, thank you so much for participating in our interview. I hope you join us again in the future. Everyone listening, please check out Renoly's links. Such a nice person to talk to, and we're so grateful for the insight. We love this movie. Go watch Hackers if you haven't. Definitely an awesome movie to watch. The next movie, episode 101. Wow. Romancing the Stone from 1984. This will be a nice segue. It's going to become warmer. It's going to get into the summer months. But again, thank you for listening to 100+ episodes at this point in time, or 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more.
Yep.
Heck yeah, man. As always, hack the planet, and Rabbit Troop sucks.
Hack the planet.
Wait, they're trashing our rights.
Trashing.